What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another one of my voiceover adventures, where today we're going to be building some AN fuel lines. So whether you've dealt with this stuff before or you're here looking for some guidance, I really hope I can shed some light on just how easy it is to really have an amazing fuel system set up. All the fuel system products in this video are made by Deechworks, and if you're interested in any of them, you can find them at deechworks.com. The first piece we're going to look at is these aluminum vise jaws. AN lines are made with soft aluminum fittings, and the steel jaws of your vise can really mess up the finish, so you're going to want to get these to prevent that. Another great way to protect the finish of your fittings is to use AN specific wrenches. Deechworks sells these neat little aluminum AN wrenches ranging from -4 to -12, and they also have an aluminum adjustable AN wrench that goes all the way up to -16. As for fuel system parts themselves, you're going to need some hose ends. They come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes to fit whatever application you might need. Lastly, you're going to need some fuel line. As you may have noticed in the title of this video, I'm using what's called PTFE line. PTFE line differs from your standard rubber fuel lines in the sense that there's a plastic tube underneath the steel braids. While this tube is thin and flexible, it's completely vapor impermeable, and it allows you to run more corrosive fuels like race gas and ethanol blends. Another way PTFE fuel lines differ from standard rubber fuel lines is you must buy PTFE specific fittings. The reason for this is PTFE fuel lines use a compression ferrule or compression olive to compress the plastic tube to the fitting for a leak-free seal. Now that we got everything we need, let's start by building the line from my fuel cell pickup to the inlet on my fuel filter. You may find that you like to size and build your lines a different way. This is just the process I found that works best for me. I like to start by attaching a hose end to one end of the line, so we'll go ahead and show you how that's done now. First, we'll stick our magnetic vise jaws down onto the vise to protect our fittings. We're going to start by disassembling our hose end. To do this, you just remove the nut and remove the compression olive. Next, you want to take the nut and slide it over the fuel line. There's a nice little flare built into these that helps you with this process. Don't forget to slide this nut on the line first, because as you'll see in a minute, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do later. Snug the line up in the vise just tight enough to where it won't slide or rotate. Make sure you leave enough hanging off to where you can still work with the end. Your line will come with some form of tape wrapped around the end to keep the frays under control. Go ahead and remove this. Next, grab a small flathead screwdriver or something similar and work your way around the end of the line. What you're trying to do here is get the screwdriver in between the steel braids and the inner plastic liner and loosen up the steel braids so we can slide the compression olive in between the two. I like to take my fingernail and lightly run around the edge of the plastic tube to remove any burrs created from cutting. Now we'll remove the compression olive from the hose end and get ready to press it onto the PTFE liner. Here you can see that there's a small lip inside the compression olive. You want to press the olive onto the PTFE liner until it rests up against this lip with no gap in between. I found it helpful to grab the line and apply downward pressure against the olive to help seat it fully against the liner. Once you've got your olive seated nice and tight up against your liner, you want to grab some light oil and apply it to the threads of the hose end to get it ready for assembly. I put a little oil on the nipple of the hose end as well, because it is a tight fit going into the liner. Now we're ready for assembly. With the hose end in one hand and the hose in the other, use a pushing and twisting motion until the hose end seats firmly against the compression olive. Then, slide the nut up over the braids and thread the hose end into it by hand to make sure you're not going to cross thread anything. Head back to the vise and clamp the nut, but make sure you leave enough room to get your wrench in there to tighten everything together. Tighten everything down until it's nice and snug, and then go a little bit further just to line up the flat surfaces of your hose end to your nut to make everything look uniform. Now that we've got one end of our line assembled, I'm going to thread it onto the filter so we can get ready to make our next cut. I like to run the line right up next to the other hose end, so I know exactly where it's going to need to land once we cut it. Once you figured that out, tightly wrap a piece of electrical tape around the line to mark your cut. Place the tape so that you can cut directly down the middle of it and still end up with the length of line you need. This will leave you with electrical tape on both sides of your cut and help prevent the line from fraying. After making a few more tight rounds with electrical tape, we're ready to cut the line. There are several ways to cut through braided steel line, including a cutoff wheel, hose cutting shears, or a fine-tooth hacksaw. I opted to use a fine-tooth blade on a porter band, and it worked really well for me. However you choose to do it, just take your time. This cut actually took me around a minute. After each and every cut, blow out the line from both ends with compressed air to make sure you get any particles out. After you've made your cut and blown any junk out of the line, you can assemble the second hose end the same way we did the first one. With the second hose end assembled, our line is officially complete and ready to install. And that's really all there is to it. Now that you've built one line, you can move through the rest of your fuel system and build it exactly the way you like it. I'll go ahead and put a few more of these lines on back here, just so you guys can see how everything came together. Another cool thing about these hose ends is they swivel 360 degrees, so you can mount them in virtually any orientation. I used to be intimidated by making my own fuel lines, but as you can see, there's really nothing to be afraid of, and I honestly had a lot of fun in the process. If anything in this video is not clear to you, or if you've got any questions at all, feel free to leave me a comment. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.